2020. This is August 5th, 2020, Planning and Zoning Commission of Carson City Workshop Meeting. Please call the roll.
Chair Borders.
Present.
Vice Chair Doors.
Here.
Commissioner Eswine. Here. Commissioner Perry.
Here.
Commissioner Preston. Commissioner Tingle. Commissioner Wiggins. A quorum's present.
Thank you. The public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Planning Commission, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Is there any public comment at this time?
There is no public comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Item D, discussion only regarding possible amendments to CCMS chapters 18.03 definitions and 18.04 districts. Mr. Plummer.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm sorry for the interruption. I just want to state real quickly for the record before I hop off this call, we do have Karen Takis, who's also on this WebEx meeting, and she's going to take over the rest of the meeting when I leave the room. As I noted earlier, before this meeting was called to order, Ben Johnson, who normally staffs this commission as counsel, is tied up in court temporarily, so he was unable to make it. Procedurally, what happened earlier, just again for the benefit of the public, anyone who may be tuning in, there was not a quorum. One of the commissioners I know was already anticipated to be running a little bit late, and as a result of that, Chairman Borders called the meeting to order, noted for the record that there was no quorum established, and then adjourned with the understanding that there would be a future meeting scheduled in lieu of today's meeting. However, within 2 or 3 seconds of that adjournment call, the fourth commissioner did arrive, and Chairman Borders noted that on the record, called the meeting back to order. So I just wanted to state that clearly for the record in case there's any confusion among any members of the public who may be tuning in. I do recommend also, I know, Mr. Chairman, you did just call for public comment, but before going on to the next item, if I would ask you if you could entertain perhaps giving another minute or two, just in case any members of the public who may have been on call or in queue suddenly drop the call and may perhaps be trying to dial back in. So if you would just entertain the idea of giving them perhaps another minute or two, double checking with Desi and IT, and if there is nobody in line, then to proceed to the next item. And with that, I will go ahead and log off, and I'm going to let Karen Takis from the DA's office take over.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Is there anyone in the queue right now for public comment?
There's no one in the queue, Mr. Chair.
All right. Can you notify me if someone does arrive in the queue?
Will do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Plummel?
Yes, should I go ahead and
I would
start?
I would say let's go ahead and start because there's some preliminary things you want to say, and if we do receive someone in the queue, we can pause for a minute and let them have their say.
Sure, no problem. So sorry we're doing this a little bit remotely today. This wasn't the plan. I had to get my binder delivered to me at the house here. So thanks for bearing with us. Just to go over this staff report a little bit, this item and the purpose of the workshop is for its discussion only, and this is our the second workshop discussing chapters 1803 definitions and 1804 use districts. I think we covered most of the major topics at the last workshop, but I did represent that we would be reviewing this section again to get any last comments from the planning commissioners before taking it to the Board of Supervisors for their comments and for more public comment on it. I think that the plan is still to, once I get your comments today and all the other comments, is to put this together, advertise it a little bit more to the public to go online and get it and look at it, and then bring all the comments to the Board of Supervisors. as an additional opportunity for public comment. So some of the changes, this is primarily the same as what you saw last time. I made any suggested changes that that you gave me at the last meeting. Some of you gave me written comments, and those have been incorporated in here, and I've gotten back to you on those if you had some. One of the major things that I did was in the retail and personal service use tables through as it goes in order, the tables have all those extemporaneous uses are deleted and don't even show up in there, so the table's a little bit condensed. The full version of it with the deleted markings are at the back of the packet if you want to still look and see those. I still think there's some work to be done in consolidating some of these tables, and particularly in some of the public and recreational uses that cross over between districts. And but we haven't had a chance to go through that in detail yet, but we'll continue to work on that. So I don't have anything else to go through, and I know it's a little bit difficult remotely anyway, this way to kind of walk through it. So Heather's there in the meeting room if you have questions. I'm available, Hope's available, and I think however the chair wishes to go through comments today and provide them to us, we're happy to be here to assist.
Okay. Well, I think the best place to start with is just with 18.03. And if there are comments that we need to make on that as a board, let's do that, and then we can move to 1804. I know I have 2 or 3, but not very many. It's a whole lot better than it was, Lee. Are there any comments for staff on 1803? Mr. Perry?
The comments that I had at the last meeting were addressed in 1803, so I don't have anything in 1803.
Okay. All right. I have just 1 or 2 that just struck me as funny. On amusement devices,
Can you get the page?
it's page number 5 in your hymnal. The big 5. The last phrase is, but shall not include radios and televisions. Is that a throwback from when people used to drop quarters in TVs to watch it? Or I don't understand the reason for excluding radios and televisions from amusement devices, unless they were coin-operated. And I'm not sure there's a coin-operated television. Heather may not have ever seen a coin-operated television. Just a comment. On 17, under engraver, Lee and I couldn't find it, but I know we talked about it. If I'm an engraver and I etch in glass, is that a separate definition? Or is an engraver someone who can engrave on plate, block, and glass?
You know, I'll have to do a little bit more research on the definition. It must be used somewhere else. I can't think of where the term engraver.
Yeah, I know, I believe that somewhere in here we talk about glass etching. Maybe it's with a lapidary or something, but anyway, that was a
And I think engraving shows up. Well, yeah, let me do a little bit more looking at that.
Okay. And finally, on page 43, on whip antennas, the last sentence has nothing to do with the definition. Whip antennas have minimum silhouette and also limited range. If we're defining a whip antenna, I don't know how that helps define it. because we don't go into detail on all the other, there's about 4 or 5 different definitions of antennas in here. And that was all I had. And if there are no other comments on that, we can move to 14 or 18.04. If you have comments on this section. Commissioner Eswine, did you submitted yours already? Okay. Commissioner Perry?
The items that I had brought up at the last meeting relate to the description of the zoning districts, and some of them were not consistent with the policies in the land use master plan, and I went through those, and I see that those have all been corrected, so I think those look good there. I only had one, and I'll go to page 57. And it was more of a question than anything else. It's in the table of residential districts, intensity and dimensional standards. And I go down to the bottom, MFD multifamily, the third column over where it says maximum density. And the description is here is 1 or 2 per 6,000 square foot parcel. And I was just scratching my head a little bit of what, that's not really, I mean, 1 or 2, what defines 1 or 2? It's not very specific. Maybe there's a reason for that, but I couldn't come up with anything. Lee?
Yeah, that's, I'll start. That's a good one that needs to be clarified, and I'm not sure I know the answer. It's something that's been an ambiguous thing since this was written, so this is definitely something that I want to fix. With multifamily duplex, you can have a duplex on a 6,000 square foot lot, so you could have 2 per parcel, which the density is 1 per 3,000 square feet. Since we have Heather and Hope here, has there been any, what way has that specifically been applied to zoning when we've had a project?
I haven't had to apply it, but if I had to interpret it, I would assume they meant if it's a single family home, it's 1 per 6,000, and if it's a duplex, it's 2 per 6,000. But that would just be an interpretation, and I haven't had to interpret it.
I believe that's how it's been applied, because the density of single family 6,000 is one unit per 6,000. So obviously, if you have multifamily duplex, that's a higher density, and it's 1 per 3,000. And I think the table should be changed to reflect that accordingly, unless there's objection to that.
No. Mr. Perry, anything else?
I had gone through about 3/4 of it and didn't find much. There's a couple things in the table that, can be condensed or whatever, but I think, we don't need to beat a dead horse. It looks like we're condensing a lot, so I really don't have much in 1804 either.
Lee, I only have one question. On page 61, when we talk about clinics and residential areas, I know, and it may be because of the way it's zoned, but I know out by, Division Street and Curry and back in there in the downtown area, there are several small clinics, foot doctor, dentists, all kinds of things. And do we need to make note of that in here? Are we sure that all of those are in some other commercial district or the downtown district and are exempt from this or not? Because I'd hate to say we're going to tell all these people they can't be there anymore.
Yeah, there's a bit, the only place the clinic shows up is in the residential office district on that table. So there's that residential office column is actually the only place there's a little bit of overlap with the residential table and the non-residential, the commercial table, they each have that residential office column. And that's the only place in the residential use table where the clinic shows up. So yeah, where all the medical offices and clinics are within the residential office district.
Well, that was, I wanted to be sure that we had them covered somewhere or the other, and it just, when I looked at it just hopped out at me.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? It sounds like much ado about nothing, doesn't it?
Excuse me. I think we had addressed a lot of those, and so I'd called Lee earlier to just find out were the changes that we submitted last time included in this latest draft, and they are. So,
I'm getting pleased with the way it's turning out.
yeah. Okay.
I think we're getting there. So, Heather, do you have any other comments that you need to make, or from the staff point of view?
No, I don't.
Lee, you, I hope, have anything else you want to say?
No, like I said, we're still working on it. I mean, we can continue to catch little things. This is going to still be an iterative process, even with these sections. These chapters are going to come back to you before you make a final recommendation. So we'll continue to keep cleaning it up. Like I said, we keep catching little things, and we'll continue to consolidate uses and combine within the different districts. So I think moving on at this point is a good idea. And moving on for next month, we'll move on to the next chapter for the Planning Commission to look at.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission?
I would have one. I'm looking at the staff report here and the chronology of this, where it goes, following is the updated tentative Title 18 workshop schedule, right? So we're at August 5th today, and we've got chapters 03 and 04. And then on September 2nd, we have Planning Commission Public Workshop, Chapter 18.5, the general provisions. And then the day after that, September 3rd, Board of Supervisors, discussion and comments on 1802, 3, and 4. So before it goes to the Board of Supervisors, do we have to have a recommending vote of this body for it to go to them? And if so, that would need to be agendized at some point. It couldn't be on September 2nd because it's not, I don't think, at least. I'm just curious
It would,
as far as how
if it does,
proceeds.
it seems like it would have to be at our August meeting.
Yeah, it would have to have been today.
No, the regularly scheduled August
Oh,
meeting.
the regularly scheduled, so it could be during the regularly scheduled meeting, yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think we need to say that we like it the way this, before we give it to the supervisors, recognizing they're probably going to change it anyway. But I think us as a body need to say, you know, the staff and I and the commission have worked on this, and this is our best shot, here it is, as opposed to just the staff bringing something forward. You know, that makes sense, Lee?
That's right. But I think this was back probably before Commissioner Perry was appointed, Commissioner Perry was appointed, with the schedule. So the plan has always been for each chapter to have a planning commission workshop, just comment only, have a board of supervisors workshop with comment only, and then bring it back to the planning commission to make a formal recommendation before it goes back to the board for action. So this is only, of those 4 meetings for each chapter, this is only we're still on just the first step, and then we're going to take it to the board. Then we're coming back to the planning commission, which on that same sheet there on the schedule if we stay on schedule, it'd be September 30th when you make a recommendation on chapters 1802, 1803, and 1804.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. So there's parallel workshops.
Yeah, and it's just an extra point. It's just an extra opportunity, and especially now when the public can't be here. So I think this extra time is good. But you know, I think it's good for this to get before the Board of Supervisors before they have to take action on it, so we can get their comments, their recommended changes, and take those comments and changes back to you for your final recommendation. That's the idea.
Any other comments? Item E, the public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the Planning Commission, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned at 3:40.